guys have sites on, I mean, do you have intentions of other sites maybe in town? Knowing what you've done in, because
Well,
you're
so
in Sioux
far-
Center and.
Yeah, so far, we've only done one in each town.
Okay.
We wouldn't want them right next to each other, it wouldn't make a lot of sense business-wise. So, you know, if we were looking at other locations, we'd wanna spread them out. But I think our goal is just the one right now, and maybe one on the outside of town or something.
As far as precedence, Clark, I mean, could, but we should look at each request separately and just rule on where it is.
That's fine.
I think one of the questions was the administration recommends that if the billboard and location are approved, a permit will not be issued unless they own the property, right? And DKOI Incorporated provides proof that a lease agreement exists with the current property owner, and the size of the billboard be limited to 12 by 12. And I think they visited with you about that, didn't they not?
Correct.
Yeah,
And
so, yeah, so the first two things are in there, owning the property or proof of a lease. I mean, that's just basically, Greg can't issue a sign permit
No.
for them on somebody else's property.
Sure.
And the 12 by 12, you know, I think there should be some kind of, there should be some number in there, you know, because it could be a 12 by 12 today or this year, and then they come back and next thing we know, there's a 24 by 24 up there or something.
And you're aware of all that, sir, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
So the stupid question of the day, what about offensive material being on the sign? What kind of rules do we have as far as the city? Or what kind of
No, I don't
enforcement can we
think,
do?
I don't know if we do.
That's a good question.
I don't know
Well,
if
I'm
we do.
just, I'm not saying that they will put anything offensive on it. I'm just saying sometimes it may be what's not offensive to them is offensive to somebody else. So
Political.
how are we getting into this? Are we getting into that?
Well, this really is no different than the other handful or so that Avery, we have an agreement with Avery, who gave permission for Avery to put up billboards.
Right?
You know, we don't approve or
I'm just
run,
asking
they
the
don't run
question.
by what they put on those billboards.
I would never have asked the question probably in the last 28 years, but all of a sudden the world has changed. I'm asking the question today. You guys have any policy, company policy or anything?
We try to avoid any offensive material, so.
Speak into the microphone. Okay. I mean, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm not trying to put me on the spot. I'm just saying
Looking down the road.
that tends to be a big issue right now in the world, so, okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I don't know how we do
I would
that.
I'd like to ask a question.
Okay, Ken.
Greg is gonna have to enforce this new ordinance or this sign he's asking for. Do we have a height requirement so it doesn't get down in the view of an automobile? That's the thing I'm interested in, is some control that Greg can go out and okay the permit for a person to do that. Just owning the property, I don't have a problem with that, that's one way to go, but Greg still should have the authority to request a height on a sign for safety.
I think that's already in our ordinance, Ken.
It is.
And then plus the placement of this one's, because of that detention basin that's there, this one is set back quite a distance back from blocking any view of somebody driving out to Business 75. But the height requirements, yes, that's already in there.
It is.
Does that answer your question, Ken?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the placement.
Close the hearing first.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm
All
sorry.
right.
Just to be
Yeah.
official.
Hearing no other comments on this particular hearing, I'm gonna close it at this time. Now I'd entertain a motion.
You ready?
I'm ready.
I'd make a motion to approve the placement of a 12 by 12 billboard on Business Highway 75, approximately 1215 Hawkeye Avenue by DKOI Incorporated.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second to approve the placement of a 12 by 12 billboard on Business Highway 75, approximately 1215 Hawkeye Avenue by DKOI Incorporated. Do we have a roll call on that? No, we don't need one. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Can you share all this conversation with your partner too, so they know what we're asking about?
Thank you.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, moving on, excuse me, to the third project here. On May 4th, 2021, the council set this as a date and time to hear public comments on plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the 2021 Central Avenue South PCC overlay project. The project is partially funded with the Surface Transportation Block Grant, STBG, program federal aid swap funds. The anticipated schedule is as follows. Submit final plans by October 19th, 2021. The bid letting, IDOT, is January 19th, 2022. The council award is February 1st, 2022, and the start construction to be determined May 1st, 2022. Attached is a IDOT federal aid agreement for the project. At this time, I'm going to open the hearing and ask for any written or oral objections or comments on the project. Any questions from anybody?
I don't have a question, I'm gonna give some information when we
Okay.
close it.
I'll ask you once again, are there any comments in regard to this hearing or oral objections at this time? Hearing or seeing none, I'm going to be closing the hearing at this time. Jason?
Okay, last council meeting, you guys had some questions about, or concerns. All those questions have been answered, and I'll tell you them. I had a phone call conversation with some conversations with Pat to discuss them, and then a phone conversation with 4 DOT individuals, 3 out of Sioux City and 1 was in Ames, I think, to clarify some things. So by signing this agreement that's attached, that does not bind us, the city, to accept anything. We're not bound to accept any type of bid. In their what are they, instructional manual, is that what it is?
Instructional memorandums.
Memorandum 5.03, it was pointed out to me, is the process for awarding of contracts. Okay, so in there, it gives us the process if bids come in, they're too high, or to reject for any reason. Okay, we notify the DOT why we are, and we deal with it from there. What you'll notice in here is there was concern on, well, costs were the concern because of the current environment. What if stuff comes in way too high? Because the higher it gets, the more the city is committed to that increase. Because the DOT, their agreement with us is for a set amount. Okay? You'll notice up top here, if you compare this to the last time it came to council, at the last council meeting, some of these dates have been changed. Right now, it's, as of the last meeting, it was scheduled as an FY '21 project, which means it needed to be let by the federal dates, which means they have the October, where we have the July 1, and they do the October thing. It's pushed back to a January bid letting, and that's not an issue. That will get approved and has been, really. The timing of things and which year it falls in goes through our regional TAC, and I think Clark, you sit on, or is it Mike? When do you guys go down there for that? Down at Simcoe?
I do.
Yeah, Mike.
I'm on the board.
So we had that TAC committee last Wednesday, and I went through all of this. They have no issue with pushing it back to a 22 project, which gets us into a wintertime bid letting, which typically is more favorable for prices. You know, you may get more activity, more contractors bidding on it, so. So it's pushed back, so change in a year is not a big deal. Hopefully prices are better, maybe they're not. But we deal with that cost when we open the bids. I mean, so there is a way. There is a way to deal with the DOT if we think it's too high. If we decide to push, if they come in too high and we want to rebid it, that goes through the regional planning. That's all arranged through them down when we have the meetings in Simcoe on where it gets put. If we decide to, at that time, to completely scrap the project, then that money still goes back to the regional planning, and then that group decides where the money goes. So we're not, by approving this today, we're not, and signing this contract, we're not 100% committed to approving.
But we're also not in danger of losing funding through Simcoe.
No, that was a pretty easy conversation. No,
Okay.
the project is still on the list, and we just moved the money around. So.
Thank you, Jason, for explaining that, because I didn't know at the last meeting, there was a lot of questions that came up as to what we could do and what if, no what if.
Yeah, what I did learn from that meeting last week, so the DOT has let a couple of projects lately, concrete, well, different types of projects. Concrete projects don't seem to be affected so far as pricing goes. Bridge projects where there's steel and those types of things, those are coming in a little bit higher. So it depends on what kind of material you need for your project. But concrete seems to be okay so far, as you'll see in a couple other projects we're going to talk about later.
The size of the project, though, is locked in, right? We can't cut it a block short or something like that. And save money that way.
When do you want to make that change?
Well, I don't know, I just was asking the question.
I mean, so that's so if
we were relatively always gonna spend $750 or something, and we spend $913, can we spend $750 and get 7 blocks versus 8 blocks done?
Yeah, so if we go through this letting process and they come in
Right.
high, okay? And then our thought is, okay, well, let's scale it back and cut those costs down,
Right,
okay? That would be our reason, if we're gonna amend the project, I mean, we notify the DOT that that's
Okay.
gonna happen.
okay,
Then I have to take it back to our regional to
exactly,
get the project changed.
right, I'm just
And
saying.
then we would amend this contract with the DOT,
Understand,
it would need an amendment.
okay.
That's your question, Rick?
Yeah, and because I'm not saying we wanna do that, I'm just saying, if it's, you know, all of a sudden becomes $1 million project, maybe we do have to do that. Or maybe we do have to say, okay, we're gonna do the seeding or something ourselves, or we're gonna do something else ourselves.
Yeah.
I don't know if we
Okay.
can, but.
The financial side of this is the SDBG funds, which is $600,000, and the local RUT funds are $313,756.80. Or the total estimated cost is $913,756.80. So, to give you kind of an idea of what we're talking about here. And does anybody else have any questions for Jason or anybody? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2123 on plan specs, form of contract, estimated cost of the 2021 Central Avenue South PCC overlay project.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second to adopt resolution number 2123 on plan specifications, form of contract, and estimate cost of the 2021 Central Avenue South PCC overlay project. Do we have a roll call on that, Christie?
Wick,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yep.
Goodchild.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do we go on to motion number 2?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2124 approving federal aid agreement for the Surface Transportation Block Grant Project, 2021 Central Avenue South PCC overlay project.
Second.
Motion made and second to adopt resolution number 2124 approving the federal aid agreement for the Surface Transportation Block Grant Project, 2021 Central Avenue South PCC overlay project. Do we have a roll call on that, Christie?
Wick,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yep.
Goodchild.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Passed. Thanks, Jason, for explaining that.
Thanks, Pat.
Thank you, Pat, for being in attendance on it for us. Okay, moving on to number 4, which is the budget amendment. At the last meeting, the council established this as a date and time for a public hearing regarding the amendment to the city's 2020 and 2021 adapted budget. Notice has been published and the required resolution is attached. The budget amendment includes capital projects of $1,450,000. The revenue source is from federal and state grants and donations, and the fund balance. Number 3 is the enterprise funds, which is $2,895,500, and that's coming from the fund balance as a resource. Number 4 is the Floyd Valley Hospital, $3,800,000, and that's a federal grant. So the total budget amount is $8,145,000. It includes the CBP2 and airport improvements. It includes the water system improvements, early redemption of water bonds, and it includes Floyd Valley Hospital expenditures. This time I'm going to open the hearing and ask if there's any written or oral objections or comments to this particular amendment. I'll ask once again, is there any written or oral objections or comments to this particular amendment or hearing? Hearing or seeing none, I'm going to close it at this time. Administration recommends the council approval. Any questions? I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to adopt resolution number 21-25, amending the 2020-2021 adopted budget.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Motion made and second to adopt resolution number 2025, amending the 2020-21 adopted budget. Could we have a roll call on that, Christie?
Nelson,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yep.
Goodchild.
Yes.
Wick,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Motion carried. Okay, moving on to motion on to general discussion. At this time, does anybody have any general discussion from the audience here, in regard to the way we handle it is we ask you to step up to the podium, state your name and address. The council cannot make any decisions today, but they're always willing to listen and take it up with concerns. Hearing or seeing none, we'll move on to thumbs up award. Mike?
Pass.
Joe Clark?
No, thanks.
Tim?
Thumbs up to our fire department and their support for the accident up at Sibley on Sunday. Could have been a catastrophic event, and their support there helped in easing a lot of tension, so thumbs up to them.
Very much so. Thank you, Dave, and your group. I knew you were up there battling that, so that's good. Okay, moving on then to the consent items.
Kenny's next.
Oh, excuse me, Kenny.
Nothing today, thank you.
I'm sorry, I almost overlooked you. I couldn't see you, that's the reason. Consent items. All items listed on the consent agenda will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion on these items unless the request is made prior to the last time the council votes on the motion. Today, we've got 4 of them. First one is approval of the May 4th, 2021 regular meeting minutes. Number 2 is a list of the bills for the period ending 5/14/21. And number 3 is a monthly financial statement for April 2021. And number 4 is a dental and life insurance coverage. Any questions or anybody have any, want to pull any of these before we vote?
Motion to approve consent items 1 through 4.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion to approve consent items 1 through 4. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Moving on to the action items. And the first one on the action item has to do with the request to close streets for RAGBRAI. The attached information regarding requested street closures for RAGBRAI, July 24th through the 25th, 2021. The administration recommends the city council approval of the closures. And I think in your packets, you've had an opportunity to see what's all in there as to where and what and when. So rather than, unless somebody's got any questions,